Hello friends, welcome back to week 2 of the Advent season, and this week we'll be covering the theme of peace. What comes to your mind when you think of peace? It's not my household, that's for sure. With 4 kids, 2 of them especially being twin boys, it's not very peaceful very often. Busy, yeah. Chaotic, definitely. Noisy, yes. I'm sure there's a few other parents that can sympathize with that. But even if you don't have kids, I think being peaceful is such a foreign concept to us in this day and age, in today's hour, with the life's busyness, with all the things that we have going on in our lives. When was the last time you felt peace? And even without the busyness of our lives, we have the all too familiar chaos of stress and anxiety that our minds are engulfed in far too often. It could be the decision of leaving a job or starting a new job. It could be someone being poorly that you love or know. It could be a whole host of things that affect us, that raise the stress and anxiety levels in our minds. And the chaos, which I've referred to, is, I don't know about you, but when I have these stressful decisions or when I have a stressful situation, it just seems to capture my mind. And I play it round and round and round. And I'm almost like having these little skits in my mind, different scenarios that might happen. And even in those skits that aren't actually true, that are not even real, I can feel the emotions of that rising up within me, causing me more stress or causing me upset. And I'm like, why? Why does that happen? But that's how our minds are built in this day and age, isn't it? So to be able to find peace is such an important part of our relationship and journey with God. Being able to plug into what He has for us, to sustain us, to give us rest, to give us peace in our minds, especially in this day and age, is such an important part of our lives that we need to find, that we need to learn. And I think there are 3 practices that we can put into place that will help us with that. And most of the scripture I'm going to be reading from today is from Philippians 4. But the first one is from Psalm 23. And there's 3 verses, the first 3 verses that I want to look at. It reads, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for His name's sake." Now, this is a psalm from David. And isn't it interesting that David isn't writing about his comfort in buildings that he created? I mean, these are buildings which were made of gold, made of onyx stone, made of cedar wood. And there would be a lot of comfort available for him in these palaces, in this kingdom that he has. But God says, no, I want to draw you away from that, away from the busyness of your man-made sculptures, your man-made buildings, your man-made comforts. And I think there's an element where God's saying that nature is part of His healing process, part of His restoration for our souls, to be able to give rest to us, to be away from the busyness of the hustle and bustle we have in cities, but to get out and go for walks, to spend time in nature, away from technology, away from the noise that we're constantly surrounded by in buildings or in cities, and just be able to listen to the still waters, listen to the birds. When was the last time you went on a walk? I can tell you, I've gone for more walks recently, and there's definitely a stillness that comes over me, a refreshness when I look at the beauty of a round of trees, of the hills, of the sky, of this morning sun rising. And if we just allow that to restore our souls, to give us rest, I think there's a real sense of God in that for us. Number 2, going to Philippians 4 now. In verse 4, it says, "Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say, rejoice." I think the second practice that we can put into place for ourselves on a daily basis is to worship God, to sing songs and rejoice in Him. In the good, yeah, but also in the bad. There's something so powerful about us praising God when we don't feel like it, when we are beaten up, when we feel at the worst point of our lives. Rejoicing in Him, declaring His goodness, does something to us, does something to our soul. It tells us to have hope, have strength. It is such a powerful thing to be able to do, to sing praises, to rejoice in God being good, even though we might be experiencing a bad time. You can do that by putting your headphones on and going for a walk. As we discussed before, going into nature, Get your headphones on, go for a walk, and just be surrounded by beauty and start praising God. It's so worth it. Find some songs that you like, which get you going in terms of rejoicing and get you going in just giving your praise to him in the hard time. Number 3, prayer. Such an important part of our daily practice to have is prayer. Prayer aligns our hearts with God. It aligns our will with God. It's a two-way thing as well. It's not just prayer, him listening to us. It's listening to him as well. It's talking to God. If we don't have that, what relationship do we have? What part of our journey are we building up without prayer? In Philippians 4, verse 6, it says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God." In prayer and supplication, let your requests be made known to God with thanks. Not just small prayers, but supplication. Supplication means basically getting on our knees and begging humbly to God to express what's in our minds, express what's happening in our lives, for what you want God to move in, to pour out our hearts to him, and for him to work in that. And we'll receive a peace beyond our understanding. And don't you think when we have friends and family that maybe don't know Jesus, when we start experiencing that peace in our lives, when they know that our situations, don't you think they'll be asking questions in terms of how come you are so peaceful in this stressful situation that you're going through? And we get to speak into that. We get to speak about Jesus' love that he has for us, Jesus' peace that he's given us, to testify to people about that. Isn't that amazing? Won't that be amazing? That is the peace that he has available to us. Verse 9 of Philippians 4 says this, "What you have learned and received and heard and seen in me, practice these things, and the God of peace will be with you." Practice these things. Having daily practices as Christians is so important for our journey with God. We need to have these things in place. We need to have the mindset to remind ourselves to do these things. Go for walks and receive the beauty of nature to restore your souls. Worship God. Worship God in the good and bad times. Find the songs that sing to your heart, that lift your heart up to God, to lift our eyes to God. And he'll be there for us. Pray. Talk to God. Listen to him. See what he has to say to you. Open our hearts so that his will can shape our lives. These are such a core practices to have that will be so fruitful for our lives. And then we get to have the God of peace with us. The peace of God. Isn't that worth it? To be able to have that? Especially in this day and age where things are so messed up, aren't they? We've got to live in such a broken world. To be able to have that God of peace with us, constantly recharging us, restoring our souls, is the best thing that we can do for ourselves, isn't it? I hope you've enjoyed this video. Why don't you comment and let me know when God's given you peace in a situation before. If you want to support the channel, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time for another video. Take care.